Have you ever felt like your brain just has a mind of its own? Like there are these invisible strings pulling your reactions and you don't even know why? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden triggers that shape our daily lives. Let's dive right in.
I mean, seriously, think about it. That little ding from your phone, that sound alone gives you an immediate urge to look, doesn't it? It's like a little jolt of anticipation. But what is actually going on there?
Or how about this one? You smell something, maybe coffee brewing or a perfume you haven't smelled in years, and bam, you are instantly transported back to a specific moment. It feels like a little bit of magic, but I promise you, it is pure brain science.
Right? You weren't even freaking about food a second ago. But then that familiar pizza jingle comes on the TV and suddenly the craving is overwhelming. That is absolutely not a coincidence. It is 100% by design.
So here's the secret sauce. These really powerful automatic reactions, they aren't random. They're not something you were born with. They are learned responses, created through this fascinating process that's running in the background of our minds all the time. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to go back in time. To a laboratory, a bunch of dogs, some bells, and one super observant scientist who stumbled onto something huge.
And that's the wild part. One of the biggest breakthroughs in psychology was a total accident. Pavlov was just trying to study dog digestion, but he noticed that his dogs would start salivating before they even saw the food. And that little observation changed everything.
Okay, let's break down some of the key terms because it makes it all make sense. First, you've got the unconditioned stimulus, or UCS. Unconditioned just means unlearned. It's the natural trigger. For the dogs, the food is the UCS. It automatically makes them drool. No training needed.
And the drooling itself? Well, that's the unconditioned response, or UCR. It's the natural, automatic reaction to that stimulus. Food goes in, saliva comes out. Simple as that.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is where the learning happens. A bell on its own means nothing to a dog's appetite, right? It's just a neutral sound. But Pavlov started ringing the bell right before he gave the dogs their food. Over and over. He created an association, and that bell went from just being noise to meaning food is coming.
And boom, this is the final piece of the puzzle, the conditioned response. The dogs started salivating at just the sound of the bell, even with no food in sight. The bell had basically inherited the power of the food. That new, learned reaction is the proof that conditioning worked. So let's just recap that real quick. Phase 1, before anything happens, food makes him drool, the bell does nothing. Phase 2, during conditioning, Pavlov pairs the bell and the food together. And Phase 3, after conditioning, the bell alone now makes the dogs drool. A brand new trigger has been wired into their brains.
Okay, that's great for dogs in a lab, but what does this have to do with us? Well, let's bring it into our own lives. And I'm telling you, once you see this pattern, you are going to notice it absolutely everywhere.
Let's go back to that phone notification we started with. It is the perfect modern-day version of Pavlov's bell.
Let's just map it out. The unconditioned stimulus, the UCS, is getting a fun or interesting message. That naturally gives you a little hit of excitement. That's the unconditioned response. Now the notification sound, that's the conditioned stimulus. It gets paired with that exciting message again and again. Pretty soon, just the sound itself triggers that feeling of, ooh, I wonder what that is, and the urge to check. That's your conditioned response.
But classical conditioning isn't just about positive things like getting a great text message. It's also the exact mechanism behind a lot of our fears and anxieties. Take the dentist drill, the pain you might feel from a procedure. That's the unconditioned stimulus. It naturally causes a response of fear or discomfort. Now, that whirring sound of the drill used to be neutral, but it gets paired with the pain. Before you know it, just hearing that sound is enough to make your heart race and your muscles clench up. That's a conditioned fear response.
So this takes us a little deeper. What is physically happening inside our brains when these fears get so locked in? Because this isn't just a mental trick, it's biology. Well, research points to a tiny almond-shaped part of our brain called the amygdala. You can think of it as the brain's threat detection system, and it is ground zero for how we learn fear.
The amygdala is basically the switchboard operator. It connects the neutral thing, like the sound of the drill, to the threatening thing, the pain. It forges this super strong, hardwired memory that can trigger that fear response automatically, without you even having to think about it. Okay, but here's the most hopeful and incredible part of this whole story. If these responses are learned, can they be unlearned? And the answer is a huge resounding yes. We can actually rewire these automatic triggers. So, the process of learning the association is called acquisition. Make sense? The process of unlearning it is called extinction. And the way extinction works is by breaking that link. So if Pavlov kept ringing the bell over and over but never ever brought any food, eventually the dogs would stop drooling at the sound. That association would just fade away.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. It's the core principle behind one of the most effective treatments for phobias and anxiety out there. It's called systematic desensitization, and it's all about using extinction to help people conquer their biggest fears.
So how does it actually work? Well, it's a really logical step-by-step process. First, you get really good at relaxation techniques. Then you make a list of your fears, from the least scary thing to the absolute most terrifying. You start with the easiest one, maybe just looking at a picture while keeping your body completely relaxed. The whole idea is to slowly replace that conditioned fear response with a new conditioned relaxation response, one little step at a time.
So what's the big takeaway here? We are all walking, talking collections of these conditioned responses. The chime of a new email, the smell of a certain food, the first few notes of a song, they all hold this hidden power over our feelings and reactions. So now that you know how it all works, what hidden trigger in your own life are you going to notice first?